So Fran, we go back.
We go a long way back. You were this principal artist in these iconic roles. You had this presence that was, reminded me a little bit of Jakapura, this strength.
Wow, that's a compliment.
And this kind of, you could lean into the vulnerability.
It was Mutual Admiration Society because we always used to go to Bangarra's performances when they'd come to Melbourne. I have images of Fran and Russell dancing together that will be etched into my memory forever. And so for the two companies to come together and for us to be working with people that we'd watched and admired on stage it was just so inspiring. I think it allowed our audiences to realise that the dancers in the Australian Ballet were capable of doing so much more. It blew their minds also to see the dances that they'd been used to seeing in Sleeping Beauty and Nutcracker and running around in tutus and tights, adapting to this kind of visceral, earthy movement. And I remember the response from Rights was just thunderous. But I feel like each time Bangarra and Australian Ballet came back for another collaboration, sometimes the people had changed. The makeup of the companies had changed. So it was a different energy, no less important and no less fascinating and interesting, exciting, but just with different people.
Yeah, each time I feel, there's another layer, generational energy, generational kind of way of moving, of expressing themselves, and the immediacy of that, I think, has created a different generation that is hungry. They're slightly impatient. They want things, but that's not a bad quality. I think that they have so many more skills than I think that.
Because they've had to develop them.
They've had to develop them, right?
In this world.
Yeah.
Well, they're sounding old, Fran.
I know, right? But I'm just in awe of that, that the boldness of like, oh, I can just learn that, I can do that, yeah, I'll take that on. And, there's a fearlessness to that, and I really respect that. The Australian Ballet, built on a European tradition, to be able to, for a moment in its, in its programming to centre First Nations, worldviews and relationship with country, and to create that little shift, that change, and and better understanding of who we are. More importantly, through this story of Flora, where plants and the colonisation and the impact and the devastation of that mirrors that of our First Nations people. I think it's an incredible journey of resilience, and also one that, is the message that we want to leave. That custodianship and caring for country is something that we all share. We're so busy looking elsewhere when we just need to focus on here and now, and care for what we've been blessed to have. Yeah.